Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. You are going to be buzzing when you see this week's DIY. I have constructed the most amazing Airbnb. So I made a beach hotel because did you know that a lot of the shop bought ones, no, not all of them, just some of them, are actually bad and can cause more harm than good, which I'll chat a bit to. I didn't know that, and I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of the video and why some of those shop bought ones can be bad. I went down a rabbit hole on the internet and I was like, no, I need to save the bees. Anyway, here is how I constructed my Airbnb. It comes with a bar as well. I was really impressed with that. Anyway, let's get into the video and I'll chat to you after. Let me draw a very bad picture of what I am trying to achieve. So essentially I'm kind of making like a shelf. So it's going to have a box shape with a roof on top and then two shelves on the inside. I'm then going to have mesh on the front. There's not going to be a back to this because I want to have the pieces removable. It's going to go against a wall. So you can get an extra sheet of wood if you would like to put a back into this. I'm going to be using some outdoor timber. You can use scrap wood or pallet wood if you have anything lying around. I recommend just using what you have to create this, but I did pick up some outdoor wood from my local. The first thing I had to do was measure twice and cut once. That's the name of the game. So I had to measure all of my pieces of wood and try and cut them as straight as I could before I assembled them. You can also use a handsaw. It is obviously much easier if you've got the power tools, but you can use a handsaw to cut your wood and just be careful. And if you're not confident using tools, ask someone to help you. I also chopped up these cubes because I'm going to be using these square cubes to put holes into them for the bees, which you will see later on. And I'm just playing around with the layout. Originally I was going to have like an even space between the shelves, but I decided to mix it up and do different heights so I could fit more or less in each little box. You'll see that I'm using a nail gun. This is just because I'm by myself and it was just easier to tack in the frame into position before I screwed it into place. I do recommend using screws as well because the nail guns, they're not overly secure. You can use like wood glue as well, but I went for nails and then I used some decking screws. These are special screws that are designed for decking and for using outdoors so that they don't rust as easy as if you use like normal brass or metal. And I secured 2 screws into each corner and this is nice and sturdy. I did the exact same for placing the 2 shelves inside, but I'm just measuring as I'm going. If you have a helper, it would be amazing because they could kind of hold the wood in place for you, because as I did dart the nail gun in, I noticed that the other side of the wood shifted. So I'm just measuring as I'm doing it so that I'm even and not wonky all the way around. And again, I'm just using screws as well as my nail gun. To put the roof on was very confusing because I was like, how am I actually going to stick this on? So I measured the 2 sides. I'm just measuring like where I want it to finish so that it's even on both sides. And then I cut the wood to side, and just on the angle on top, I used my nail gun and my screw to first stick those 2 pieces together. And then I used a screw on either corner to stick it down, which I don't know if it's ideal. It's stuck on, but I was a bit confused as to how I was going to stick it on. Probably not the best way, but it's on. I'm just applying some chicken wire to the front. You can pick up this chicken wire in the likes of, I actually got it in the garden section in B&Q, but you'll get it in most hardware stores. And I just cut it to size. I use my pliers to trim it, and I'm sticking it on by using a staple gun. This is actually the front of my bee Airbnb because I don't want the birds getting at it. So the back is open, but this is going to be mounted onto a wall, so it just means I can lift it off and access it and then lift it back on. Here are some of the stuff that I'm putting inside, and I am going to drill holes into these for the bees. So I did read that I think it's 4 inches and 6 inches in depth. If you have too many shallow holes, it will encourage an imbalance in gender. So I think male bees don't need as deep of a burrow than female bees. Don't quote me, but I made sure to mix it up with different depths for each little burrow. And I tried to make them as kind of consistent and uniform as I could. And the drill bit I'm using, I did actually go to see if there was like a size on my drill bit. I think it said it was a number 6. I'm not sure what that is in like diameter, but it's like a medium size drill bit, and I'm just drilling straight down, and I have like lots of kind of fluff or sawdust you'll notice gathers in the middle, so you can just give it another little drill to get any of the debris out. I'm just assembling my bee house, but you can get really creative and use different size logs. I was just using kind of what I had to hand. I didn't have time to kind of go and forage for some extra things, but I do have some space in mind that I can add to it, so you could get some maybe logs or sticks when you're on your walk and bring them home and drill some holes into them and then pop them in. Your bee house also needs to be secure, so I am securing mine to the wall where my bar is, and I'm just giving it a little clean. Now, I decided against painting my bee house because I wanted it to be as natural as I could. I don't think bees mind if it's painted, but I didn't want to have any more kind of chemicals. But I wanted to decorate it, so I decided to use my Cricut machine and I printed off some vinyl. I created this design in the design space and I have it saved to my account. I'm sure there's a way for me to share this design. Maybe if I download it as an SVG and then I'll figure out how I can share it maybe on my blog. But I'm just cutting it on some vinyl and I'm using some extra pressure, so more pressure with the vinyl, and then I cut it out. I weeded it. I'm still getting to like the hang of cutting vinyl with the Cricut, if you saw my Cricut video from a couple of uploads ago. So I'm just using the brayer, or I call it the squeegee, to get all of the vinyl off, and then I'm going to transfer it onto the wood. And I did this on both sides, so I just printed off my design twice and then I stuck it to the wood, gave it a nice good squeegee before lifting it off. And yeah, I love it. I love how it turned out because it just gives it that extra little bit of detail. So I didn't have to like paint it, and I love how the white vinyl like really pops against the brown wood. To make my bee bar, I picked up some pebbles from the garden centre and a tray. I was originally looking for a terracotta tray or a plate, but they didn't have any. And the purpose of this is it just helps the insects to get a drink without them drowning, because you'll notice if you have buckets of water, they can fall in and drown, especially the bees. So this way they can have a drink and not drown. So they can have a safe drink beside the Airbnb. reasons why the shop bought Airbnbs. I need to stop calling them that. But the bee houses may cause harm is because, and I'm gonna link to a blog post that I was reading from this guy who had done like, you know, research and stuff. So it's to do with mites. So solitary bees use bee houses, and if they use it, what can happen is the ones that, like any bee house can attract like mites, and those mites then go on and kill, like, I don't know the technical terms, I'm not a bee expert, but there's like pupae and larvae. I'm probably saying that totally wrong, which is why I'm going to link to that guy's blog post, because he knows his stuff. I went down a bee rabbit hole and I'm like fascinated. But anyway, basically they can damage what the bee has made inside of the nesting box, and they need to be checked annually, and especially like in winter as well. Another thing is they need to be sturdy, and you'll notice, because I have bought them, there will be ones on like strings. It's like birdhouses on strings. I used to buy things like that, and you kind of see them in like the likes of Poundland and stuff. Like what animal wants to live in a swinging house? Do you know what I mean? And it makes total sense. I was like, that makes sense. So the ones with the strings generally kind of avoid. Now, not all of them are bad, and there's ones you can buy that are constructed really well. So the reason why with mine, I made the parts removable. So the frame is sturdy and solid, and I put mesh on the front of mine, but I have seen people with no mesh. And the reason why I put mesh on mine is because of the birds. I also feed birds in the garden. I feed everybody. We've got the hedgehog, we've got the birds, we've got the bees and the butterflies. So I wanted to just, I can keep an eye, and if I see the birds at my Airbnb, I'll have to come up with another solution. But I'm trying to create like little ecosystems. So it has to be sturdy, and you need to clean it and maintain it. So I seen a guy put paper straws in each of the funnels. Now, because the shops are still closed here, I didn't get any paper straws on time to kind of demo that and show you, because I have to order them like online, or else like steal paper straws from McDonald's. I actually can't even do that because they're closed. They only do drive-through, and can you imagine me be like, can I have 50 straws please? With my McMuffin, they'd be like, no. So you can put paper straws in the tubes and fold them over at the back, and then that makes it easier, I suppose, to clean out. But you can also take those wooden blocks out, inspect them, and if there's mites, I imagine you would just give them a clean and get rid of the mites. Like warm soapy water, I imagine, would do it, but don't quote me on that. Just do your research on how to kind of clean and maintain. But generally, I have shop bought like bug houses, and there hasn't been any. You just think, oh, I'll put it up and the bugs will come and they'll live happily ever after. Never even occurred to me to check for things like mites and pests that will infest the bug hotel, because that is the last thing you want to do. Like, you think you're doing something good and you're actually causing like more harm, which we don't need that. So I'm going to go back down my bee rabbit hole, and if you have any good like websites that you have read interesting facts about bees, if you have an interesting fact about a bee, please comment below, because I'm on a bit of a bee buzz at the moment. And I also learned, here's another random fact, bees like, is it purple and pink? Oh, I need to fact check myself before I come on. I think bees like, they see purple or pink. So if you have those flowers, they will be happy with that. I also have lots of like a bee buffet. So I have lots of pollinating plants kind of around it to like attract them, be like, hey, we've got food, we've got water, and we've got rooms. Come stay in my hotel. Do share your random bee facts with me, and I might do like a blog post and I'll link and reference to some of the things that I've kind of been reading. Also, if there's any books, if you have like listened to any, like I'm sure there's like bee podcasts I can listen to while I'm doing the gardening. Put them in the comments below, and I can pin some as well so other people can see and check them out. I will share throughout the summer if I have any lodgers in my bee house, because I know my content the past few weeks has been quite garden heavy, but I'm just following the crumbs of joy, and the joy is in the garden right now. But I'll let you know, any previous bug houses I've had, I haven't had any lodgers. Probably because they were like not inviting, whereas I'm hoping this one is a bit more inviting. So I'll let you know if I do get any lodgers in the bee house. Let me know if you want to make an unbelievable bee house for your garden. You know what? Also share your favorite bee puns. Be kind in the comments. Give me your bee puns buzzing. Okay, I'm gonna end the video now. Thank you so much for watching. Cheeky thumbs up, and I will see you all in next week's video.